Our next step will be to remove the ASF unit. The ASF unit is here. This is what typically the paper loads into and feeds the printer. To achieve that, there's two metal brackets here that hold this into place. And we're going to have to remove the two screws that hold this bracket into place, and they're on the other side. So you will need a short screwdriver, Phillips, like this. And if you come around front here, you'll see these two screws right here, right behind the belt, into the bracket. You simply loosen those on both sides, and then we'll remove those two brackets. With the two screws removed, we've already removed one of these brackets, but I wanted to show you the process of removing this. These could be a little stubborn, so you have to twist them a little bit, bend them, and then they'll pop out. So you'll just push to the left, and that pops out just like that. And now this unit is clear to come up after we go to the next step. Next step of the video is we're going to clear these cables out of the way, and we're going to remove the ASF Relay Board. You'll see a Phillips screw right here. So we're just going to show you the removal of this. You just pull that screw out like that, and then we're going to pull this back out of the way, and we're going to pull these wires out of their holders. So nothing catches on this when we remove it. Pull these wires back, and you will see under here a piece of white tape. There's a screw under there. That's one of the screws that hold this tray in place. There you go, the Phillips right there. We're going to remove that Phillips screw, and you got to come from the top here. Make sure you don't touch any cables. Push that up a little bit. Put your screwdriver in there, and we're going to loosen that screw. Now that that's removed, we're going to go to the other side. We're going to do the same here. This one's easier. There's no cables in the way. We're just going to take that up. Now that that's removed, we're going to disconnect this holder to pull the cable out. So there's nothing holding on to the tray. We're going to disconnect the sensor, two little buttons on each side, off the tray. We're going to remove the ground wire from the motor by moving this screw out. Remove the ground wire, push it down, and put your screw back in immediately so you don't lose that. Then we will unplug this motor, which is the ASF motor, and we're going to label both of these ASF with masking tape. Okay, we went ahead and labeled these. I have a habit of labeling things just for the builder so they understand the components of the printer. We will not be using this ASF motor or its components because our electronic control board takes this portion over. It fully automates the printer, so you no longer need this, but it's always good to understand how the printer works, and that's why I have everybody label the components so they get an understanding of how the printer works. So when we get into hooking up our electronic controller, it will all make sense to you. Now the final screw here is right here, and we're going to take this off here. And there's 4 total that we've already went through that hold this paper tray on. I call it the paper tray, the ASF unit. There's several names for it. And then we're just going to lift right here, and we're going to pop this up off the hooks. And you'll see, you just want to make sure that your wires are cleared. You don't pull any wires out as you're taking that off. And you can just throw that in the trash because we're not going to use it. With the ASF tray removed, now you'll see we have some plastic covers here. We won't be needing any of this. You can simply pull this up, and that will be trash also. Next step is we're going to take these screws out here for this black wire holder and for the silver rod that goes through here. So we'll remove the wire, which is the paper feed switch, out of that little clip, and you'll see it goes through a series of little holders in the connector. And we'll get down to there like that. And then we're actually going to pull this switch out. It just pries up with a screwdriver. We're not going to use this switch because we control this electronically with our board, but we do need to remove it. So we're just going to take a screwdriver underneath and give it a little pry up, and you'll see it pops right out. Just label this paper feed switch and place it over to the side. Next step is we'll be removing these screws. 1, 2, 3. Now that the 3 screws we've removed from this plastic cover, there's a couple clips where we'll have to pop this up to remove it out. So we just take a flat screwdriver, and you'll notice a metal edge under here. So you're just going to put it there and pry up. You'll hear it click. Just go down the line, and you'll see this pops off. This is now trash, and we can throw that away. Next step is you'll see these spring holders. These are spring holders that hold springs into the tensioner. So we're going to release these springs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull the springs out. These are now trash, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now that we have the springs removed, the next step is to remove the tensioners, these little black things. So you're just going to pull up, pull them out, pull up, pull them out. Follow this all the way down the line. Sometimes they might give you a little stubborn, but most of the time they come right out. Now that I spoke too soon. You have a stubborn one. There we go. Alright, these will now be trash, and we'll move on to the next step of removing this rod, which we'll no longer need. And this is going to require a Dremel tool, and I will set that up and we'll go over that starting next. With the printer upright, we're going to mark where you're going to Dremel cut these little plastic pieces, and I've done that with a Sharpie. These one black mark here at the end of the screwdriver and one black mark here. I find this the easiest way to pop this out. There's a gear on this far end, so you do not want to be moving this up and down. You can break the other gears. So you take the Dremel and just Dremel cut these two off. It's very easy, and then this rod will come right out. Here's the Dremel that I use, and you just be very careful, and we'll attempt to try to do this on video. If it's too loud, we apologize in advance. Okay, now we'll check and see if we made it all the way through. Just like at the dentist. We wiggle this a little bit. And we've got a little bit more to cut. There you'll see, once you break the plastic with the cut, it will come right out. All right.